With millions of YouTube channels, lovers of the weird, wacky, and what the choose talks a lot entertainment. This is Dick's News US.
Hello and welcome to the Dness. That's right. Welcome to the Dness. News like you've never seen it before because it's read by me and I'm a freaking weird person. I'm trying to watch my mouth in the first few minutes so I can get ready for Monday Night Meltdown and not get him demonetized right away. Yeah. Anyway, hail. I am Corey. Welcome to my Dness. Anyway, tonight we're talking about the Supreme Court and upcoming cases that they may or may not be hearing. JK, LOL, they are hearing the cases, but we're not going to talk about all of them because some of it's just I don't give a fuck. Damn. I made it past a minute. That's including the intro, so now I didn't make it very far. Dang. Man. Let's say hail to the chat. Hail to Toxic Man Flu. Awesome to see you, bro. Yeah, I'm going to have to shut that shit off, aren't I? Bloop. I didn't mean to push that button. Ah, there we go. Man. I don't know what it is about this StreamYards that doesn't like me using the green screen, but I've done everything that I could to actually fix it. It just doesn't work anymore. Oh my gosh. So yeah, there's some actual like stuff going on in the Supreme Court. We need to. So I have. Hold on, I pulled up the wrong freaking article. I don't want the CNN article because everybody knows that CNN sucks. I found another one from Fox News, but they also weren't very good. So. This one's okay, I guess you could say. This article that I have found. It's from The Hill. Again, not the most trusted source. This thing can just screw right off. But we're just going to take a look at what cases the Supreme Court is set to hear during this upcoming term. And there are some pretty big ones. Okay. Just out the gate right here is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. And they'll wonder if their funding mechanism is constitutional. Hold on. Hail to Tollbat. Awesome to see you, sir. Dang it, I'm just reaching for some water and I'm knocking crap over. That's what I do. But it was created after the 2008 financial crisis to enforce consumer financial laws. It does not receive its funding through Congress's normal appropriations process. Instead, it receives transfers from the Federal Reserve. That's good shit. But anyway, so the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does not receive any type of congressional approval on the money that it gets. It receives direct funds transfers from the Federal Reserve. We all love the Fed, right? Woo-hoo. Yeah, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit just saying that phrase. But anyway, so these are the kinds of people that can literally just print their own money. You know, they're like, oh, we need this much. And the Fed's like, all right, whatever, here you go. And that's that. Now, two associations of companies, the CFPB regulates, want the justices to affirm the lower court decision that found the scheme violates the Constitution's appropriations clause, which gives Congress the power of the purse. So they get to decide whether or not Congress gets power over the funding for the CFPB. And this is a big deal for many reasons. One, these people can print their own money. And when I say people, it's kind of like them, they, who is it? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But this is currently being backed by 27 Republican state attorney generals. And that's a pretty big deal. The Biden administration warned that the ruling in their favor would call into question virtually every action the agency has taken, which it should, in my personal opinion. Yes? Excuse me. Gosh. It probably should be called into question because there's probably not a lot of people who know the actual inner workings of a free funded agency. I'm sure they go through some checks with the Treasury Department or the Federal Reserve, I should say, but I doubt it's very much. Just saying. One of its biggest advocates is Senator Elizabeth Warren. Yes, the proud Native American Pocahontas, right? Yeah. If Republicans control Congress, they could starve the CFPB of resources and neuter its ability to go after wrongdoing. So is this a private police force for Warren then? Is that why she doesn't want them to lose their funding or change the way things happen? Unless, of course, this is just another pissing match coming from Congress saying we want control of everything. But, who knows? I have no idea, my friend. No idea. But the case is called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau versus Community Financial Services Association of America Limited. So this is where I skipped over this on purpose. Okay. The independence of the Fed, the FDIC, and others will evaporate. So the Fed loses its independence. Shouldn't exist in the first place, so not a big deal. The FDIC, or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and others that use the funding model will evaporate. I will not shed a tear if they rule in favor of the Republicans on this one, or I should say the Community Financial Services Association of America Limited. Because what does the Fed do? Nothing good. You can't say a single good thing about what the Fed does. Honestly, let's take a look at the chat, see if I need to approve any messages, huh? Nope. That's good. That's good. Because we were looking at this. Now, the second one is also very important. Okay? This is the Second Amendment. Now, that is slightly misleading. It's not the Second Amendment that's up before the court, but it is in order to determine the constitutionality of federal laws prohibiting gun possession for people under domestic violence restraining orders. And it's the first major Second Amendment case the justices will hear since their landmark expansion of gun rights last summer. And the case could clarify new standards set by the High Court's 6-3 conservative majority. That standard requires gun control laws to be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, and it has led lower courts to strike down a dizzying array of gun laws. Good. I'm just saying. Now, this is where it comes from, okay? They're considering the case of Zaki Rahimi. Whom a federal grand jury indicted for possessing a firearm while being under a domestic violence restraining order. The court filings indicate that authorities found 2 guns at Rahimi's house months after he was placed under the restraining order for assaulting his girlfriend in a parking lot and later threatening to shoot her. Hail to Lester, the Skeptic Tank. Yeah, he was on my show earlier. What's that called? Corey's Corner. Yeah, we were just chatting and stuff. We had a good time. We had a really good time. Tollbat says, Rahimi. Yep. Toxic Man Flu says, Rahini. I mean, possibly, but that's an M. Rahimi. I don't know. Rahimi. It's a weird name. But anyway, this is why this is important, okay? The case is also being closely watched for how it could impact other gun laws, including one that Hunter Biden, the president's son, is charged with breaking. Hail to Parrot Head. Rawhide. That was Clint Eastwood, wasn't it? That was good. I liked that. I liked that a lot. Anyway. And of course, this one's a tricky one because you have to ask yourself, is someone who has threatened to use firearms to do violence really the person you want having a gun? But then you have to ask yourself, where in the Constitution does it say that his rights shall be infringed because he's under a current restraining order? Oh, that's right. It's shall not be infringed. My bad. English is a tricky language. It confuses me sometimes. You know, it's only my first and only language. I mean, come on, whatever. But once again, shall not be infringed. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to take a minute to. Okay, so while I was looking for news stories for tonight, I came across a lot of bait articles that were meant to stir up, for lack of a better term, religious furor or whatever you want to call it, just actual like ire inducing shit, right? And a lot of them, you know, of course it's clickbaity headlines and shit, and the real problem there is they were opinion pieces, but they were shoved in my face no matter where I went. It was weird. Like everywhere I was looking for news would shove these attack pieces in my face about various political parties. I'd say equal amounts from both sides, surprisingly. But we also need to remember, especially during this season, okay, that we cannot let these people trigger our emotions to the point that they control us. We can't let anybody do that. Okay? Like, today has been a shitty day for me, and I'm not fishing for pity. I'm just saying, today was a perfect example of why people need to learn emotional control. Okay? It's crazy. And Toxic Man Flu says TDS goes both ways. It does. It's weird. People are deranged in attacking him and deranged in defending him. And I'm personally at a loss to understand either of the zealotries at this point. But just be careful of letting the headlines actually drag you in and just shit on your mindset, because that's what these things are literally handcrafted to do. These people don't spin words to share information. They spin words to just break your brain and drain your emotional reserves so you have nothing but the basest of the base, which is most of the time just anger for a lot of people these days. And it just needs to kind of chill out. It just needs to kind of chill out. Everybody needs to chill the fuck out. All right. Anyway, so now the next case that we see here is called the Chevron deference. The Supreme Court will consider overturning the Chevron deference, which would take a sledgehammer to the executive agencies' wide authority to enact regulation. In place for nearly 40 years, the doctrine provides that when Congress is silent or ambiguous on an issue, courts must uphold agencies' actions if they are based on a reasonable reading of the statute. Hail to John Edgar. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Good to have you here. In recent cases, the justices have sidestepped or enacted carve-outs to the doctrine, but their new case provides their best chance yet for overturning Chevron once and for all. Several of the court's conservatives are known critics of the Chevron deference, particularly Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch. Anyway, so what do you guys think about this Chevron deference? It says that if Congress is silent or ambiguous on an issue, courts must uphold agencies' actions if they are based on a reasonable reading of the statute. That's incredibly word salad, in my personal opinion, because they also don't, in this article, define what agencies are. Okay. Do some research and find out. Okay. The next one is a big deal for everyone in the streamer sphere. Okay. And in the social media sphere and all of that shit. Okay. Hold on. Toxic Man Flu says, need to do it. First step to putting responsibility on Congress is killing the administrative state. That's a fair point. And John Edgar agrees. Go do some research. This is to all the people who don't know what that is. If you don't know what any of this stuff is, go do research. I'm not here to educate you. Sorry. If you came here for education, you came to the wrong place. Not the teacher. Despite how I may look in a fedora, I am not a rabbi. I'm not here to teach people. Hail to St. Floyd. He says, hey, baby, this show is so good, I can't breathe. Wow. All right. Breathtaking. But and yes, I'm joking about that. I don't fucking care. So, social media content moderation. The justices Friday announced that they will hear a pair of landmark cases about laws restricting social media companies from removing content or users for their politics. Okay, this is over the Florida and Texas laws as an attempt to push back on conservative censorship. I won't say allegations because it's happened. Okay, there has been massive censorship of conservative voices, and unfortunately, I kind of figured this was going to happen, but they've been censoring a lot of common sense voices and allowing dumbasses to scream for a long time before censoring them. And, that's just kind of how they do it, Anyway, the cases are poised to have resounding impacts for online speech. The Biden administration has urged the justices to take up the dispute. I'm sure they have. So the laws are being challenged by two tech industry groups, the Computer and Communications Industry Association and Net Choice. Okay. This Computer and Communications Industry Association. Boo-doo. Yeah, sure. Why not? Nonprofit advocacy organization. I wonder if we go to the end here and go members. Not right now. Just fuck off. It's amazing that it's kind of hard to find that. Hail, Landrigan. Nice to see you, sir. All right, I'll just tell you the ones that are right off the top of my head, okay? There's Google, or I should say Alphabet Inc. The entire Alphabet Inc. is a part of the Computer and Communications Industry Association. You've got who was it? That was the big one that popped into my head, but I think it was Apple. No, not Apple. Meta. Yeah, it was Meta. And then a couple phone companies that I didn't recognize. It was weird. So obviously it's a Google fronted thing, but yeah. So basically this what they don't tell you right here is that they're trying to decide whether or not social media sites like YouTube, Twitter, or Meta, etc., are allowed to remove your shit because they don't agree with your personal political views regarding it, regardless of whether it's the truth or not. This is what this is about. It's called social media content moderation, but they should have headed this under First Amendment because that's what this is. This is asking whether or not these companies have the right, the constitutional right, to censor their users, their lifeblood. And that's what all of these things have hidden that under pretty monikers and stuff. Social media content moderation. It does all go back to Vanguard and BlackRock. Tollback. But, you know, you got to be careful of the pretty language they use in a lot of this shit and the way they gloss over certain things and they're just really stupid about. They literally headed this one Second Amendment, right? On whether or not people with domestic violence restraining orders should have firearms. That was titled Second Amendment. This First Amendment issue is being titled as social media content moderation. Okay? Because that's narrative safe language. They don't want people knowing that. They want people thinking that Florida and Texas are bad guys for doing this. And you got to ask yourself who the bad guys are. I mean, honestly, Republicans fucking suck. So do Democrats. But I got news for you. Everybody needs to know this. Everybody sucks. Everybody. It's insane. Like, every person in one capacity or another is a trash human being. It's just sometimes it's really super secret, and sometimes it's glaringly obvious. Just saying. See, when they say bad, I hear good. Well, whenever whenever a reputable source like The Hill says something, you know it's probably going to be the opposite for reality. They say that this needs to be, like, a lot of people are saying that this needs to be squashed so that social media companies can maintain that power. But here's the real kicker for you, okay? If they pass this so they can't moderate us, and then they start moderating us, they lose 230. They wouldn't be covered under their fancy protection shit anymore. And they would have to either stop acting like publishers or own up to it and then face that whole can of worms as it spills out all over their perfume-esque bodies. Yeah. Suck it. Anyway. So this one is kind of weird. This is where shit gets weird for me. Okay? Because, on October 31st, the justices will wade into the issue of a public official banning constituents on social media on their personal accounts as they hear two separate cases. Their personal accounts. I don't like a lot of public officials, but if their personal accounts are supposed to be personal and they're set to private or some shit like that, then they should be allowed to block whoever they want. But anyway, school board members in Southern California and a city manager in Michigan blocked constituents after they wrote criticizing comments, and the constituents then challenged the bans as violating their free speech rights. At issue is whether the bans were state action, since the First Amendment only applies to governmental bodies. If it's a private account and they don't use it for any type of gerrymander or whatever bullshit, I almost used the wrong term there because my brain is fried. And it's not from the drugs. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a serious thing, though, because you have to ask yourself, do public officials have private social media? Because most of the time, and this is held up in court a couple of times, where if you have your settings set to public, it can be used in court as evidence. If you have it set to private, then a warrant is required. These guys set their shit to public and then use their personal accounts to spew a bunch of bullshit. The question is it then a personal account? Is it a personal account if the individual is using it for political grandstanding? Grandstanding was the word I was going for earlier. But, I mean, this is one of the things that they have to figure out. Because if it's an actual private account and they only use it for private followers, then it's their private personal stuff there where they should be allowed to block whoever they want, just like any other person. But if they use it for political purposes, does it then constitute as a state action, as they're asking? And I personally think that it does, because intent matters. Intent has always mattered. And if intent cannot be weighed properly through proof of action, then that's a tough case, yo. All right, let's take a look at the chat. Oh, sorry. Saw my name, thought it was about me. He's talking to John Edgar, which is totally fine. John Edgar is an awesome guy. Oh, yeah. But, so the accounts in questions were the officials' personal profiles. The constituents argued that they still use the accounts to communicate about their job. And that is the thing. Tolbat says, I intend to become a dictator, the worst the world ever seen. Vote for Tolbat. All right. You lost my vote the moment dictator came out of your mouth. I don't like dicks, but I do like taters. Hail to Ian Ellis LLC. He says, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I know it's not Shabbat, but that's fine. Whatever. All right. Toxic Man Flu says the one is why I think the FTC needs to regulate the internet like it does the radio and TV. The Federal Trade Commission. I'd like to see the red tape on that one. I take that back. I wouldn't like to see the red tape on it. Ugh. And it says, so it gets covered under the First Amendment. This is true. He says, but I can give you all you ever dreamed. No, you can't. No, you can't. That's impossible. Prove to me your power. I want $1 million in a fast car. And then I might vote for you. I know that's technically illegal, but you're not allowed to campaign as a lizard anyway. So, yeah. Oh, FCC. Yeah. Federal Communications Commission. Isn't that what that stands for? I think so. I would hate to answer to the FCC. Do you know how much trouble I would get in with the FCC? I mean, yeah, boom, he says deal. All right. All right. But, yeah, I would get in so much trouble with the FCC. Now, this next one's actually kind of silly, in my opinion. It's just silly. But, Trump too small. In yet another First Amendment case. Oh, this one they admit is a First Amendment case. That's good. The justices will decide whether a man can trademark Trump too small, a joke about the former president in reference to the infamous 2016 debate moment, which Marco Rubio made fun of Trump's hand size. Trump too small. I'm pretty sure he can afford to fix that if he really wanted to. He says, but you would know where the line was. This is true. This is true. Gosh, Toxic Man Flu with your common sense shit. It is nice knowing where the line is. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, John Edgar says the Second Amendment bit is a can of worms. That would be abused to the hilt. It would indeed. Again, outside of the Second Amendment being completely inalienable and absolute, that's a states' rights issue. You know, do they allow these kinds of things within their own state-based laws? I doubt his hands are small. He's like 6'5". Well, that depends on what kind of drugs Rubio does. Just saying. Attorney Steve Elster of California wants to trademark the phrase Trump too small for selling shirts poking fun at Trump, but a provision of federal law prohibits trademarks that mention a living person without their consent. Really? Without Trump's consent, Elster can kick rocks. So yeah. The guy wants to trademark the fact that Trump is too small. I mean, why doesn't he just fucking sell it? I mean, we do that kind of shit all the time. I'm not asking Biden's permission to put some kind of like... But then again, he's trying to trademark it, so no one else could ever use it again. And he's not even the guy that came up with it in the first place. So this guy is like Edison, you know? Thomas Edison, normally accredited for the light bulb, even though he technically did not do that. And by technically, I mean, it's like the cherry tree story with George Washington. Just saying. Just saying. Talking about putting something at the very bottom of the pile. Indeed. John Edgar says angry spouses wanting to get even with their ex could file all the false abuse reports they want. I've had a friend who took his life recently because of that to get that person's firearm seized. Yes. And that's a major issue. Okay. While a restraining order is in place, that doesn't necessarily mean that there have been any criminal charges. Now, a restraining order is typically states that a person can't go to a certain place. They can't go to, they can't see certain people, etc., etc. They can't do certain things. But restraining orders, unless there's actually been court action restricting this individual's freedoms, don't typically include the possession of firearms. I'm sure that there are some local laws that would apply in all of these cases, of course, but I'm pretty sure here in Colorado, if you're under specific restraining orders, you can't have a firearm. Now that I think about it, I think that's that way in Colorado. And some of them I can understand it. But under what, I would need more information on the case. Honestly, I would need to know, what went down, his history of violence, because I'm assuming if he has these guns and they weren't arresting him for possession of illegal firearms, then he was licensed to have them, or at the very least legally owned them, depending on where, what and why. But if the restraining order is what's in question, this could bring set precedents to kind of fuck up the restraining order system as it works, because then it would start limiting how much a restraining order could be implemented, which from certain perspectives, I could see why people are okay with that. But from other perspectives, I can see why that's not. Yeah. That's a slippery slope, but that's why it's going to the Supreme Court. So that they can figure out the actual constitutionality of it. Now, I will give some just basic predictions with no actual basis in reality or information. Okay. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I think this is going towards the defendant, or I don't know. It's going for the Consumer Bureau. And the reason I say that is because they're directly tied to the Fed, and nothing is going to happen to the Fed. They won't let it happen. Okay. And the FDIC, same thing. These are too important to their grand scheme of things in order for them to let that fall. So this is getting shot down, one way or another. Okay. St. Floyd said, I already died twice. All this talk about violence and guns. Count me out, baby. Yeah, for real. For real. But I just don't see that this isn't going to happen simply because of the Fed. Let's be real. That one's getting kicked out, ruling in Yep, they're that's how that's going to go. The Second Amendment one with the restraining orders will be, once again, the slippery slope that will be dangerously and hard to navigate. This is the importance of it, because depending on how they go, people will assume that they are rigging the system so that Hunter Biden can just get off scot-free and not have to delve deeper into his other unsavory behaviors, if you will. And so this case is going to tell you whether or not the court's been bought and paid for. Okay. Because they might uphold the law, but they might also just change it a little bit so it's more suiting for this guy, the little guy. Let's call him the little guy. And this one, I feel like they might actually rule to get rid of the Chevron deference. Tolbat says, would you like to ask Hunter a question? He's right here. No, I got nothing to say to that douchebag. John Edgar says, oh crap, that's right. I'd not thought of the Hunter Biden angle. And most people probably wouldn't have if they didn't mention it in the article. It's probably their attempt at being like, yeah, look, we said something about it. But I have a strong feeling they're probably going to take that sledgehammer to the Chevron defense deference. Wow. I'm glad my next stream is an entertainment stream because my brain is done. Gorsuch. That's just a fun name to say. Gorsuch. And I'm not even saying it right. Gorsuch. Anyway, this one is a tough one because the heavyweights that are in the Computer Communications Industry Association, if I remember correctly, it also included, what was it, IBM, AT&T, stuff like that. Of course, because it's telecommunications. But hail to release the McCracken. Person turquoise waving back, bro. Gorsuch does sound like a manly Viking name. Yeah, that's too bad, really. Talk about a mouthful. It is a mouthful. Lester. I don't see why anyone should ever have to say that over and over and over again. But it's the CCIA. It's CIA with an extra C in front. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, this one they're gonna probably man, this one's the tough one, honestly, because this is the First Amendment we're talking about here, and whether or not they can enforce the First Amendment on private companies, private or public companies even. But they're separate entities, as they like to call themselves. So this one is the one that I will be trying to keep an eye on. And I need to know a docket date for that, or what day they're actually coming. Because this one's important. It's really important. It's very important. The social media bans, I could almost guarantee that they're going to rule in favor of this senator's school board members and the city managers. They're going to rule in favor of them because taking away, it's just, I don't have a rational explanation for why they're going to side for the school board members and the city manager. They're going to. Just how it's going to work. Lester says, social media moderation. Sounds like a pyramid may be in order. Tobat says, Corey should be hired to do Vader by Disney, and he should refuse. I mean, no one will ever watch it, but that money and the car, we would be square on our agreement. No. Well, other than the fact that I would have to be morally bankrupt to work for Disney. Sounds like a great deal, I guess. When I go morally bankrupt and sell out completely, ready to sell my soul, I'll give you a call, Tolbat, and you can hook that deal up. Like, honestly.
The force is strong with this one.
Ha, ha, ha. He said, you made terms and conditions. I offered it freely. Whatever. Not voting for you. Nope. Not going to. And then, of course, Trump too small. I'm pretty sure they're just going to toss this one out on its ass and laugh their way to the fucking bank with all the money that they will get paying, even though there was no shutdown. Oh, you know who figured there wasn't going to be a shutdown? Even though I railed against the assholes, the fact that they'd get paid anyway, I didn't think that the government was actually going to shut down. I thought it was all a scare tactic, like it always is. They just narrowly avoided shutdown. Yeah, like the guy, last second, clipping the red wire and stopping the bomb. Tolbat says, careful what you wish for. You might choke on your ambition. If I had any. Have you seen my YouTube channel? You think I'm an ambitious guy? Huh? I'm just kind of fucking weird, bro. Not ambitions. As I've always said, my dream job's retirement, but getting there's hard. That's delicious. Delicious water. Tastes like nothing. So good. Yep. So feel free to let me know what you guys think about the Supreme Court cases coming up. I think it's an interesting little menagerie of cases they'll be hearing. There's several First Amendment right cases that I will try to be keeping an eye on because First Amendment is incredibly important. Any slippery slope on the second is not okay. Because the problem with the First Amendment is it's really hard to stop people from saying what the fuck they want to say. As a matter of fact, I'd go as far as saying it's impossible to stop a person from saying what they want to say when they want to say it. But it is impossible to make everyone listen at one time. Just saying. Joel says, humans make everything so complicated. Yep, that's the way we is, bro. They see the literal definition of evolution is to become more complex. Humans just took it a step too far. And before any of you are sitting there like, you believe in evolution? I am a Christian. That's all I'll say on the matter. Yep. Jeez. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I know it hasn't even been an hour yet, but I'm going to bounce so I can get finished watching, one could say, de-evolution. No. Honestly, if I could de-evolve the human brain, I would just set it back just a little bit on the emotional reactivity centers. Dial it back by like 0.1%, and I bet you shit would be fine. Shit would be fine. Nah. He says Christ is king. Even lizards know this. Indeed. All right. But he says, watch Idiocracy and say that, Corey. All right, I'll watch Idiocracy. I like that movie. Yeah, I'm gonna get bouncing, guys, so I can finish off the second episode of The Continental before tonight over on Monday Meltdown on Comics Division's channel. And as I said this morning, just letting you guys know too, tomorrow, the Tuesday show that I wanted to do, that I had planned to do regularly, is just out the window at this point. Shit's just really busy right now. Really busy. And I thought I could open up some Tuesday time, but it got filled up by other shit. And, it's fine. It is what it is. I'm not worried about it. Dude. Just getting distracted over here. He says, I was told to watch Demolition Man. It is a great movie. So good. Delivered today. Told it was prophetic. Dude, you'll like it. You'll like it a lot. It's so good. Hail to Brahma Bull. He says, dropping by to say hi. See y'all in an hour or so. Yep. Just getting ready to bounce myself, homie. I'm going to go finish off that second episode of the Continental, and I will see you guys on Monday Night Meltdown. Monday Meltdown? It's not Monday Night Meltdown. It's just Monday Meltdown. Yeah. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sexy. Don't get murdered. And as always, have a wonderful time. Thank you so much. Come again. Have a great day. Thank you.